it's going to be a packed ceremony, but also a wonderful occasion. And I must tell you that it gives me great pleasure to see so many Correllian groups growing and maturing and moving forward. And I hope that it will give you the same pleasure as you watch the ceremony. And now I will turn you over to Her Grace, the Arch Priestess and Grand Deemstress, the Right Reverend Sir Angela Munn.
Thank you, Lord Don. Thank you. Welcome everybody to the Correllian Nativist Tradition Deeming ceremony. As Lord Don said, we have 11 groups being deemed today. There are 6 groups, Witan shrines, advancing to proto-temple status, and 5 proto-temple groups advancing to temple status. The groups are located around the world. We have groups from Michigan, Ohio, Georgia, Massachusetts, Oklahoma, Colorado, France, England, Venezuela, and 2 in Spain. As each priest and priestess moves through the temple making process, we support each of these groups and each step that they take. So now let the deeming begin. May all words uttered here today be truthful and filled with light and hope. I'd like to start off with Reverend Silas. He will be speaking for Reverend William Halstead from Colorado. His proposed proto-temple name is Circle of Mountain Fire. Reverend Silas, would you be able to give us information about Reverend William's group?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
The main purpose of this proto-temple is to serve the area's pagan and Correllian communities as a place for all to come together to celebrate, worship, work, and learn about paganism, Correllianism, and various useful skills such as working with energy, learning about the history of Native American traditions, and other positive spiritual skills and values.
Can you give us specific details on what the group's members have done in the last year?
For some time, the Circle of the Mountain Fire had laid dormant as interest in community events and groups had waned. I have only recently begun reestablishing the Circle of the Mountain Fire, and we are now preparing to hold public Sabbath rituals, as well as offering a safe space for local pagans, witches, and Wiccans to connect with one another. At present,
excuse me.
No, of course. At present, we meet every Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We also meet virtually by Zoom for rituals.
And what was the greatest challenge that the group faced since it became a Correllian Witan shrine?
The greatest challenge has been the idea of creating a publicly known Wiccan group here in Colorado Springs. We have had Earth Spirit Pagans, Pagan Pride, and Mother Earth gatherings, which have all gone by the wayside. The Circle of the Mountain Fire seeks to reestablish the idea of community here, but simultaneously remain a home for regular meetings, classes, and rituals for those who wish to coven with us and learn about Correllianism. In the past, these public groups were not formal covens or groups, and they kept their coven activities separate from their public activities for the community. Additionally, we are trying to create a safe space for people who are either seeking a group for people forming a group or are already in a group that may be open to seekers to be able to connect through our public Sabbath rituals.
And what was the greatest challenge that the group faced as a pagan group?
The greatest challenge that William has faced as a pagan are related to certain misunderstandings that the pagan community have about Wicca. For example, there is a common belief that because of the Wiccan Rede, Wiccans are incapable of ever defending themselves if they are ever attacked. Another belief that seems to be around is that Wicca is a bunch of expletive and that it all came from Raven Grimassi's teachings and Strega, and as such is just an imitation of the old religion, which is usually claimed to be from some very specific location in Europe, and all others were derived from their traditions.
Is the protocol group primarily a real-time or an online group?
In the past, the Circle of Mountain Fire has been a real-time group. At present, we are an online group, complements of the pandemic. In the future, we may choose to be more hybrid depending on the time of year, the weather, and how long we have to deal with the pandemic. One advantage presently to being online is that we are able to better reach out to other groups in Colorado Springs to advertise any upcoming events. And during ritual, we have the chat feature in real time on Zoom, so people can try to connect with one another and with a group.
And what projects does the group have planned for next year?
At the present, our upcoming projects will be to better publicize ourselves in the community, offer classes, and attempt to create a small Correllian community in the Colorado Springs, Colorado region. Our webpage states that while we are open to all positive paths and teachings, we are aligned with the Correllian nativist tradition, and the core of our classes are Correllian related, but we are open to other teachings and lessons as well.
And what kind of projects does the group hope to work on in the next 10 years?
Our major project is simply to act as a resource for those who wish to study Correllianism and as a resource for people looking to possibly connect with other groups. We want to rebuild the idea of a pagan community here.
What special challenges does the group face that might be different from proto-temples elsewhere?
I think our biggest challenge here has been the virtual disappearance of local groups and covens, leaving new people out in the cold with no direction of where to go to learn and work together. We used to have an active community, but in the past few years, even before the COVID-19 pandemic, the community has withdrawing and going quiet.
Who has been the greatest help to Reverend William during his time in the tradition?
For him, the obvious answer would be his partner of 33 years, Richard Porto, who now is studying the first degree as his, with William as his mentor, and the Right Reverend Lori Denman, who has been his mentor and friend.
Okay. How many members does the group have now?
We have 4 active members, but we are open to more. Strangely enough, we have no active female members.
Okay, thank you so much, Reverend Silas. I appreciate you stepping up to help Reverend William today.
It was my
Lord
pleasure.
Lord Don and Lady Stephanie, do you have any additional comments?
I do. I am aware that that Reverend William has faced a number of challenges during the time that his group has been in existence that have taken a lot of strength to persevere through, and I think that that speaks very well of him. And I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that. Some of the challenges he's faced, a different person would have buckled under. And so I think that he's done very well indeed.
Very good. Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you for moving forward with your growth with your group.
Thank you, Lady Stephanie. Okay, next I would like Reverend Elizabeth, also known as Celtic Fire, to speak on behalf of the Witton Shrine Twilight's Ember that will be advancing to proto-temple status.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you for stepping up today and filling in for Reverend Amanda. Can you tell us some things that you've learned about her group?
Her her full name is Amanda Lee Allen Watson, and she is in Oklahoma.
Okay. And can you tell us about her proto-temple's main purposes?
They try to get together when they can to celebrate the Sabbats and have general meetings to go over the basics of rituals, and they also love learning tarot.
Okay. And what specific details did she give on what she and her members have done in the last year?
Well, even through this past year, it's been insane. And they managed to have one impromptu gathering, but due to COVID and moving and just life in general, it was sometimes difficult to gather. But they promised themselves that they would start meeting again at least every 3 months now, mostly reading tarot and in general, just talking of how everyone has been.
Okay. And how often did she say that they met?
They met once, but they got together through text messages and Facebook posts. They're going to try to meet in person at least every 3 months now, and they do not do emails.
Okay. And what did she say was the greatest challenge that she faced since becoming a Correllian Witton Shrine?
Just getting members and people who want to gather and discuss issues. Amanda has asked them for their friends if any of them would be interested in coming to a general meeting to discuss our beliefs.
Okay. And did she talk about her greatest challenges that she faced being a pagan?
Yes, she did. Being raised pagan, she didn't have a lot of challenges. All of her friends accepted her as she is, and they still do. We all know that we have differences, but we don't let things like politics, religion, sexual preferences, gender, or tax bracket status stop us from being friends. If that was the case, would any of us have any real honest friends?
Will her proto-temple primarily be real-time or an online group or a mixture of both?
It has been a mixture of both. Of course, being in person is always great to see your people. Online, we can schedule our time better. And now with FaceTime and Zoom meetings, it is so much easier to show and explain when cannot be physically there. Of course, both in context, getting people to have everything they need and paying attention and interacting is always a challenge. We get off topic, but always get right back. So it always comes full circle.
Okay. And did she talk about what projects that her group has planned for the coming year?
She has no projects planned. They're just trying to gather to celebrate that all has happened since their last gathering. We post stuff on Facebook of what things have been happening in the group. Like Michael got his tea leaf reading cup and book. Tammy just received her tarot deck. She gifted it to a new member, and she's searching for a deck that really speaks to her. And Brittany had some kind of freak accident with her cards that they seem to be submerged in water without her putting them in them.
Okay. Did she talk about what projects that she hopes to work on in the next 10 years?
She's hoping to get all of her children interested in learning the craft. They're all coming up in age and starting to learn. They are reading and doing internet searches on projects that will help interest the children with nature and crafts.
What special challenges did she say that she faced in her area that might be different from proto-temples in other areas?
Just getting people in general. It is very rural in her area, and though she does know a lot of people who practice, it's very hard to get them to join anything, for they love being solitary.
Who did she say was the greatest help to her during her time in the tradition?
Beloved Lady Wendy LaJoy was such a help to her during the early days when mentors would come and go and left a lot of us was left in limbo.
Okay, and how many members did she say she now has in her group?
About 8 to 12, depending on who shows up and if anyone new comes along.
Very good. Thank you so much, Reverend Celtic Fire. I appreciate you stepping up today to help Reverend Amanda.
My pleasure.
Lord Don, thank you. Lord Don and Lady Stephanie, do you have any additional comments?
I do. Like Reverend William from Mountain Fire, Reverend Amanda has been with us for many, many years. And I've watched her do an awful lot of good work with the tradition, particularly as a mentor. I got to meet her at Lustration in Texas some years ago. I think it may be as much as a decade ago. And she has very much demonstrated her loyalty to the tradition, her loyalty to Goddess. And I wanted to acknowledge that that she has shown herself to be a strong and conscientious person.
Thank you.
And I too met Amanda in Texas, and I just say I ditto everything that Chancellor Don has just said. She is truly a leader in every sense of the word.
Thank you, Lady Stephanie. Now I would like to ask Reverend Octavia to speak, and she will be speaking on behalf of her group and an additional group that could not make the deeming ceremony today. Reverend Octavia.
Hello, good day.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm fine, a bit nervous.
It's okay. Which group, I know you're going to be speaking for Prototempo de la Arboleda del Awen and Sanctuaria de Nemesis. Which group will you be speaking on behalf of first?
Santuario of Nemesis, if possible.
Okay.
I mean, the Shrine of Nemesis.
Okay, can you tell us about the group?
Of course, this shrine is a small group, but the shrine head, Reverend O'Days, he's a very deep and strong devoted to the goddess Nemesis. And the group is very small, but still is doing a really hard work putting together the Correllian tradition and also the worship of the goddess Nemesis. I'm so sorry, I'm so nervous. I'm gonna drink a bit.
You're okay.
We understand.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, basically, it's a very small group, but it's doing a lot of academic research about the goddess Nemesis, and especially trying to make this goddess be known for what she really is, because there's a lot of misunderstandings about this deity.
Okay. Can you give us details about what he and the members have done in the last year?
Of course.
You said they were doing research.
A lot of academic research, translation from ancient Greek, but also the Reverend O'Days, he created a small group for this specific tarot, the Wild Unknown Tarot, trying to make people of the tradition to learn about this tarot, of course, for free. And apart, he created, as he's a Correllian shaman, he created a small course about trance and most deep spiritual meditation with power animals. This course is not fully complete, but let's say this is in the Vita. We're still trying to make it work, but all the research and all the study that is done in this shrine is always shared with the community. And what I really like the most is that the shrine is open for the community to bring in information about the god. the goddess herself, or any small detail about the goddess hymns, or any prayers, anything that can complete the information we got. So it's been a research, but it has two ways. I mean, what we bring, but what other devotees of the goddess, no matter if Correllian or not, they also like to participate with this and make it very proactive.
Thank you very much. Lord Don and Lady Stephanie, do you have any questions for Reverend Octavia about Sanctuaria de Nemesis?
I don't have any questions. I only want to make a comment, and that is, I could see through his writing here that he is very poignant, right to the point, and very clear in his ideas, in the ideas of the temple. And I appreciate that. Well, for Rawl.
Thank you.
And I totally agree.
Okay, now I believe Reverend Octavia will talk about her group. And can you tell us about your group, La Arboleda de Awen?
Yes, of course. Well, this group started as a kind of idea because I'm working on my third degree project that is put together modern Druidry and also Correllian, as they got a common point in the Scottish ancestors. And I wanted to create something like a Correllian bard or Correllian druid. This is something I'm still working it with Lady Elisa, who is my mentor. Hi, Elisa. And I wanted to make it like it has a core, a spiritual core, a real place where this idea can be developed. So I created this shrine, and I found out that other Correllian and a part of other friends were very interested in this idea and wanted to join the shrine to participate in this project. So we created this to honor the Awen, the idea of the flowing inspiration coming from any kind of deity, to be honest. This started just a small idea, but it's growing a lot because we got members from other groups that practice Druidry, like both British Druid Order, who are joining to help to make this grow and put together the Correllian tradition, but also the modern Druidry. And I think this is something unexpected, but I got a lot of illusion and a lot of good energy about this, because I think this is the seed of something that is grow a lot, and I'm just watching how it's growing, and I'm just delighted totally. But that's my group.
Okay, thank you so much. Lord Don, do you have any questions or comments?
The only comment that I would like to make is that I know that Reverend Octavia has also faced a number of personal challenges and continued forward in a very steadfast manner, and I would like to compliment her for that and for all of her hard work in general.
Thank you very much.
And I want you to know that we see your hard work, and we see the challenges that you have faced, and that you are always in our heart.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
And I'm going to add to your wonderful statements, Chancellor Don. Many people think that we're not observing and are thrilled to see the dedication and the lively personalities such as you. And that personality is contagious. And who would not want to be a Correllian after they meet you?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you again, Reverend Octavia. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Okay. And next, I would like Reverend Petra to speak.
Hello.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Can you tell us where you're located and can you tell us about your group, Mystic Labyrinth?
Yes, so currently I'm physically located in France on the West Coast. And I've made some notes here, so my eyes wander. I'm just kind of looking back to those because, like Reverend Octavia, I'm quite nervous. So,
It's okay.
so the main purpose and goals that I've kind of mapped out for the shrine going to Proto Temple is to provide a safe place online to study the Correllian tradition and Wicca in general, to meet and converse with other members, and to partake in seasonal celebrations and to share the Correllian tradition with interested parties. And I'm very fortunate here in France that actually there's also a very long Celtic history here. So to maybe also integrate some of this amazing energy that the land has here into the projects that I've planned going forward.
Okay. Let's see. Can you give specific details on what you and your members have done in the last year?
So in 2017, which is a little bit before this past year, I made a big move from Canada to France. And that's actually when we decided to pause the shrine because there was a lot going on with the move. And then we had to establish ourselves here in France. And so since 2017, I've done a lot of studying and preparing for bringing the shrine back online. So the past 12 months specifically, I have spent studying the Correllian tradition and also various trainings in the healing traditions. So I've completed my Reiki Master. I studied a lot on meditation, guiding meditations, hypnosis. I'm a certified hypnotherapist now. I did life coaching because I really felt that preparing myself to be able to pass on these things to members that come into the shrine, and to maybe, in addition to providing the studies, providing some healing arts, maybe some training on the healing arts, some courses in addition to the Correllian tradition, and also to prepare myself to step into more of a leadership role where I can support members in what they'd like to do and help them, especially in the pandemic now. Mental health is a really important issue right now. So to be fully prepared for bringing the shrine back online and also be prepared in myself. So that's kind of what I've done the last year.
Okay. And what would you say was your greatest challenge that you faced since becoming a Correllian Wittan shrine, and how did you handle it?
The greatest challenge has been building the membership, especially with the move, because I wanted to be a physical shrine in Canada. It was very difficult because we lived basically in the middle of nowhere, so it was very hard to have physical membership. So we decided to go online, but then also again with the move, that kind of threw things a bit up in the air. So that has been the biggest challenge is to grow the membership. And what I've decided over the past year is to really just have the shrine be fully online, so that there's likely going to be another move in the cards, so that that's not going to interfere with what I'd like to do. And so that we always have this online presence. There'll be a steady place where people can meet online. We'll have the website, we can do the Zoom meetings, we can do all the seasonal celebrations, and that's going to be a steady path that we can take no matter where I'm physically located in the world. So, but that has been, I think, the greatest challenge, is to build the membership.
Okay. And what would you say was the greatest challenge that you personally have faced as being a pagan?
Yeah, the interesting prejudices that come up when somebody learns that I'm pagan and I'm a witch. Someone actually said that their daughter couldn't hang out at my house because we sacrifice children. So very interesting ideas that I think we all work very, very hard to counteract and to show people what we do and how we honor the land and the energies, and that there's nothing, untoward about any of that. So that's been a lifelong journey from when I first really encountered that. That was back in that was before college actually that happened, so a long time ago. And working a long time now to be out there in the public and to show people what we do and actually, you know, counteract these prejudices that people have.
Okay, and what would you say your projects would be for the coming years?
So the first project, most pressing project, is to bring the shrine back online. So I have done that. I finished the website, so it now has a more permanent home. I've also started a Facebook group so that we have places where we can actually meet. The second project is to start the seasonal celebrations. So I'd like to do all of the Sabbats, and then also I love doing full moon rituals. And I'd love to start the celebrations on a regular basis, maybe doing a Zoom, you know, we could take the phone outside or something. That would be fantastic, so that we have a real-time celebration for people that want to join. And I'm working on a course, so I'd like to bring that online, I think probably towards September, so that I can offer not only the Correllian degree, studies through witch school, but also some of my own courses as well for members. And in the long term, I really would like to establish some sort of healing center. I'm guessing that will be a physical presence, and that's a very long-term project. I'm thinking, you know, 5 to 10 years probably, but to bring everything together into a physical space where we can also draw on the energies of the land and help people with any physical or mental challenges that they're encountering, and really provide healing in a sense for the pagan community and also the greater public. So those are the short-term and long-term goals.
Perfect. What special challenges do you feel your group faces that other temples elsewhere may not face?
For the local environment here, there's definitely the language barrier. I speak a little bit of French. We can do the day-to-day things like going shopping and things like that, but to actually provide services in French, that's a little bit outside my reach. So I would really like to get a little bit more connected with the local community here as well, learn the language a little bit more fully. And I've seen, you know, posters hanging in the organic store that there's Druid meetings and things like that. So there seems to be a little bit of pagan going on here, and I'd like to really connect more to that. And overcome that challenge of the language barrier to fully plug into this wonderful area here. So, yeah.
Lovely. Who would you say was your greatest help to you during your time in the tradition?
I also have to say Lady Wendy. She was my third degree mentor. And I just loved communicating with her. So back then it was over email because we didn't have Zoom. So I really loved communicating with her on the studies and just the Correllian tradition in general. So that was a really special time for me.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Lord Don and Lady Stephanie, do you have any questions or comments?
I did have a question. I thought it was very interesting how Reverend Petra was talking about incorporating the local energies into her group. So my question is, if you later move, how are you going to handle that? Are you going to continue the French influence while bringing in others? Are you going to, well, how will you handle it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. So before, when I lived in Canada, I worked with the land there. So there also is a lot of First Nations energies there from the local communities there. So I did work with the First Nations there, and we did a lot of, they actually showed me some of their sacred places in the area and let me be part of that. So I think it's a bit of the fabric that makes us as people, is that we incorporate the different energies that we encounter, the different places that we live in, and the different cultures that we meet into what makes us as a person. And I'm really grateful that I've gotten to experience so many different types of cultures and energies already. Before this, I actually lived in Germany, so there was some influences there as well. And so I'm hoping to continue that just really being a, shall we say, a showcase for accepting other cultures, for accepting different kinds of energies, for being open to different types of people, cultures, backgrounds that are out there, and really being tolerant, bringing all that together in sort of this multi-patched fabric that makes us as pagans. And so that's what I'm hoping to do in the future. So, you know, whether we move to Scotland, Ireland, Germany, I don't know, but I know that the energies there will contribute to the group again, bring a little bit different perspective maybe, and attract maybe also additional members that are from different backgrounds. And so I hope that in being diverse myself, that I can bring that to the group and really drive that home, that it's really important that we're welcoming and open to all the different energies.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So apparently you're a nomad, and this is wonderful, and I can see why you would mostly want to keep most of your teachings on the net. Makes so much sense. And as you're finishing your courses, how are you going to disseminate or present all of these wonderful courses you're going to be presenting?
So I'm very fortunate that my husband is sort of the tech brain behind all of this. And him and I, we've built a membership platform where people can log in. And so I'll be hosting the courses online on this membership platform. And, you know, some of them I'm sure we'll offer for free. Maybe some of them will have a little fee or something. We'll kind of decide that as we go along. But people will basically, similar to which school, they would get a login. And then when they log in, they'll get the courses that they have access to presented to them in the online platform.
That sounds like a great idea. Make sure that you post all of your courses of what you just explained. Make sure you post like the Correllian Hub, both, even the Spanish-speaking Correllian Hub. Just post it out there everywhere so everyone can have the opportunity to learn from you. Thanks.
Sure, that sounds like a great idea. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Reverend Petra. That was beautiful. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it. Thank you.
It was great to see you all.
Okay. Next, I would like Reverend Joanne from Wild Moon Temple, Wild Moon Witan Shrine, to speak with us.
Hello.
Hello. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. I hope you are too. Hi, everybody. Hope you're all well.
Can you tell us where you're located, and can you tell us about your group?
Sure. We are located online. We are an online-only group, and we are specifically on the platform of Second Life. For those of you who don't know what Second Life is, it's like a virtual world, a metaverse, if you like, where everybody has access. You can join for free. It's a completely free platform, and we have people from all over the world that come to Wild Moon, and basically we have a virtual temple there, and with a Stonehenge and lots of other amazing rooms and spaces that we use. So it is kind of like being in a real temple, but it's just virtual. The feelings are the same, the emotions are the same, but it's just, you know, the energies are amazing, and it's just wonderful to have that space to do that.
Very nice. Okay. What are the goals for your group?
So the goal was to provide a presence for the Correllian tradition on Second Life, and to enable people to learn about our teachings and the tradition itself. And also, not just with the pandemic, but in general, people who may have disabilities or may have difficulties finding places in their local areas to go along to. They don't have to worry about that. So we wanted to provide a place for everybody to come, regardless of location and ability, and, you know, they can just come along and be in that virtual space. So we also do rituals, which are open rituals to other pagan groups and other people on Second Life as well. So we advertise through their advertising system, and people just come along just to celebrate the full moons, new moons with us, and the sabbats. So we're basically an online, safe, non-judgmental environment where people can just be free to discuss their spirituality. And we have people from lots of different traditions and lots of different kind of who have different interests, like Druids and Vikings and the Norse Asatru kind of beliefs as well, that come along to share with us and to share their wisdom. So we just welcome all individuals and groups who are curious about us and answer any questions we can, really, to let them know about us and what we're doing.
Okay. And what would you say has been the greatest challenge you've faced since first becoming a Correllian Witton Shrine?
We have faced a little bit of negative attitudes and intentions from others, and it's just been an occasion of dealing with maybe differences of opinion, or sometimes a few little personality conflicts between people, and it's just been negotiating and finding a way to find common ground with everybody. And we try to be fair to everybody and listen to all sides of the stories, and just try and build a community that's harmonious. And there have been the odd blips, but we've got there and worked them out. So it's been a learning curve, and that's what being a Witton Shrine is about. It's about learning how to deal with these kind of things. So yeah.
Very nice. Okay. And what about the greatest challenge you personally have faced since being a pagan?
Well, I was actually raised Christian. I was a Sunday school teacher. I sang in a Christian rock group. And I used to go to church every Sunday. And when I turned around and told my family that I was pagan, they were kind of shocked, but accepting. And that was the biggest challenge for me, was actually coming out to them as a pagan and actually explaining what it was about and how how it was. And I grew up in a tiny village in the northeast of England where most people didn't really have a belief, or there was like 4 churches, all Christian churches within the local area. So the majority of people either didn't have a belief or they were Christian. So it was a kind of culture shock for my family, I'll say. But they're great. And then I learned some things about my family. My grandmother was what she called herself a white witch. She used to make herbal remedies and teas and things for people. And my mum and grandmother used to share like folklore tales with me. So there is quite a lot of history in my family as well with it. So without them realizing that it was kind of within these beliefs. So yeah, it was interesting to kind of explore that.
Okay. Is there anything, what other projects do you have planned for the coming year?
Okay, so at the minute we meet pretty much every day. There's something going on at Wild Moon every day. We have meditations. We do things like we do a healing ritual every week. We do belly dancing and other forms of dancing. We have social gatherings where people just come along and talk. We have book clubs where we're exploring different books and talking about them. We also do like creative writing projects, and we also have, because it's Second Life and it's a platform that's open to other things, we have like DJ events and live music going on. People come and sing for us, and we just have a great time together. We also do virtual things like virtual yoga, where we do the actions on the screen, but you can follow along at home if you want to. We also do something called novitiate training, which is like training new people in our ritual style so that they are aware and can participate in ritual. And we do drum circles as well, and lots of different workshops. So the kind of plan is to keep that going, to keep that energy flowing, and to kind of bring more and more things into what we do. So things like we have a Sanctum of Hecate order, which has just begun. And so we're going to be learning about the goddess Hecate and learning all about her, the history, myths, legends, epithets, and lots of different things to do with her. We're going to be creating more rituals. So we want to do an ancestral memorial ritual. And we're going to be doing some workshops on things like crystals and astrology and tarot and different pantheons. And we're going to be celebrating artistic pursuits as well, like live music, storytelling, poetry, reading, and singing. I want to introduce singing into the temple and do lots of singing. And we'd also like to invite members of the tradition who would like to come along and maybe do a guest speaking presentation or something, just so that our members can get to know you all and find out more about you. So that's kind of where we're heading next year.
Okay, that's lovely. What about the next 10 years? Do you have?
10 years is such a long time, isn't it? But it is. I mean, when I was thinking about this, obviously what we'd really like to do is to grow the temple membership. We do have quite a good attendance at our rituals and things like that, but we're looking for people to kind of commit to working with the temple and doing more with that. So definitely growing that kind of engagement. We want to establish some working relationships with other temples so that we can share best practice and just get to know what's going on in the wider community. We want to establish thriving rituals across time zones, because at the minute, Second Life covers every time zone you can imagine. So we're in the UK, we're in Australia, we've got members from the States, from Europe. There's just so many different time zones to cover. So what we'd love to do is to be able to do activities and rituals across different time zones as well. And we're also going to be using technology, other online platforms, to enable more people to join us, like Discord and Facebook and those kind of things. And eventually, once I've achieved my 3rd degree and the temple is kind of under my imperium, I'm thinking of taking, we were talking earlier about bricks and mortar building, so I'd love to establish a bricks and mortar building, but that's kind of a pipe dream. It's quite far ahead in the future, but you never know.
Okay. Are there special challenges that you face in your area that might be different from temples and others that they face?
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever been on Second Life, you will know that that's a challenge in itself. Just learning to walk around or get to a certain place or change your clothing. You go to sit on a chair and your top will fall off, or it's just the platform itself is difficult to learn how to use. But once you get it, it's fine. But I think that's one of the main things that we have that is a challenge that other temples probably don't face. We also have, because we're across time zones, we have people from all over the world trying to schedule things in to get the most people, to give the most people the chance to attend is quite difficult. And also the language barrier can be a challenge sometimes. However, we do have a few people who do speak several languages. One of them's here today, Carla. She speaks about 6 different languages. And we have, I'm so grateful that a lot of people learn English because I could speak a tiny bit of French, but that's my limit really. So yeah, we do have a lot of language difficulties sometimes, but thankfully there's always Google Translate, and Second Life even has a little translator as well that you can use, which is awesome.
Okay, and who has been the greatest help to you during your time in the tradition?
So I have to mention 2 people really. Lady Anna Rowe, who is my mentor and Imperium for Wild Moon at the moment. Lady Anna's just been there for me from the very beginning. I joined the tradition back in 1999, early 2000, I think it was. And she's been with me the whole way. So definitely Lady Anna has helped me so much. And also Reverend Jared Houston Crowe, who's with us today as well. He has been a true friend to me. And I met Jared last year, just after we established as a Witan shrine, and he's just been a tower of strength in difficult times and just been there for me throughout.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate it, and your group sounds lovely. Thank you.
I wish everyone would come and visit us. You're very welcome to come
I
along
will.
and see us.
I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lord Don and Lady Stephanie.
I would just like to say that I think that this is a very exciting project, and you're obviously putting a lot of work into it. If you're doing daily activities, which, as you say, you are.
Yeah.
And I admire and don't necessarily envy that work schedule.
I'm very lucky that I have lots of support from, I mean, I think there's about 6 or 7 people here today from the temple who've come along to see it. And I couldn't do it without them. They're just amazing. And I love them all. And I love being part of this tradition. It's just wonderful.
We're very glad.
Thank you, Lord Don.
We look forward to seeing many more wonderful things from this.
Absolutely.
And all the things that I have listed here that I so enjoy about you is too long, so I'll just mention 2. One is I like your welcoming attitude of other traditions coming in and joining you. And that really celebrates one of the main tenets of our tradition, and that is that you are welcome to be what you are and be part of us as well.
Yes. Yes.
So, and then the second thing I really liked is that the idea of virtual yoga.
It is a lot of fun.
I think we all love virtual yoga.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, we would like Reverend Hasoli to speak with us.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, how are you today? ¿Cómo estás?
Gracias, bien, bien por aquí.
Por favor, cuéntenos acerca de su grupo.
Chévere, nosotros somos un santuario que se creó, o sea, el santuario se creó a partir del cambio de plano de nuestro sumo sacerdote príncipe Tirón de Fira, hace ya 3 años. Y bueno, nada, él decidió que me hiciera cargo de su proyecto de pertenecer a la tradición como debe ser legalmente. Y bueno, nada, hasta este momento creo que hemos tenido un trabajo súper laborioso, pero muy nutritivo, porque hemos crecido muchísimo. Somos muchos, de hecho, en el prototemplo actualmente. Somos 38 miembros y bueno, todos prácticamente nos conocemos de hace mucho tiempo por el camino en la Wicca. Sin embargo, hay muchos que están fuera del país, algunos están como dedicantes, algunos como cortes externas, pero siempre estamos en constante actividad. Este año con la pandemia pues hemos tenido un poquito de receso en cuanto a vernos y compartir, pero siempre nos hemos mantenido unidos, trabajando, tratando de aprender, tratando de crecer como hermanos. Actualmente se iniciaron 3 reverendos y bueno, hay un grupo de dedicantes que está próximo, ya falta poquito para sus iniciaciones también. Tenemos muchísimas limitaciones en Venezuela y bueno, no me gusta resaltar eso, sin embargo es nuestra realidad. Pero más allá de las limitaciones, lo que me alegra de ello es que a pesar de tenerlas, seguimos adelante, siempre estamos en constante comunicación, trabajo, no caemos en ningún tipo de hueco, por decirlo así, estamos creciendo de la mano de los dioses siempre, con la ayuda de nuestro príncipe Terión, que siempre nos está guiando también, y de todos nuestros ancestros, pues, del linaje correlliano, que sé que nos apoyan porque el proceso ha estado siempre desarrollándose. Nosotros siempre hemos estado en constante actividad y bueno, somos un grupo grande, nos tenemos mucho cariño, somos amigos, peleamos, nos queremos, peleamos, nos queremos y así vamos. Y aprendemos juntos.
Okay. I have her application here, so I will talk a few minutes about her group to those who do not understand Spanish. Her temple's main objectives are the implementation of the Correllian philosophy through the celebration of the Sabbats of the Wheel of the Year, rites of passage, esbats, and others, as well as honoring and celebrating the goddess and god in all its manifestations. Their purpose is to enjoy the natural spaces that their Tierra de Gracia, Venezuela, offers them, where they are frequently holding their meetings. They seek the preservation and respect of nature, and they honor and thank the earth for its gifts, sharing in harmony with the four elements and their elementals. Another function, no less important, is to impart the Correllian formation to all those who come into their space voluntarily to receive the knowledge so that they can provide the level of Correllian priesthood degrees, highlighting and placing great emphasis on the growth and expansion of the beliefs and their spiritual family in their country and their borders. This past year, they were very limited in their face-to-face meetings due to the pandemic. However, they remained active using social media and other communication tools. In this sense, they had meetings through WhatsApp, Zoom, and Facebook, both for the development of the first degree course and for the celebration of some rituals of the Wheel of the Year that they were able to celebrate together, mostly with the participants. They also meet to share experiences of their magical life, acquiring knowledge and growing together in their spiritual and human development as a family. Their formal meetings are weekly, but they meet daily to share discussions, information, and experiences. And right now they have about 38 members. Their biggest challenge was to stay in communication and training, breaking the barriers of geographical distance, maintaining the attention and training and study by the participants, despite all the social, political, economic, health, and communication problems and limitations that they generally have in their country. Her greatest challenge that she faced as a pagan was to take the reins of a group to try to understand each of the members, to manage the different personalities and their different perceptions of their beliefs, and guide those who require guidance in their spiritual needs without falling into judgments. How has pagan most benefited her life? She says that being a pagan translates into constant growth for her. She feels that more and more doors are opening to explore and increase knowledge, allowing her to develop as an empathic person, always seeking union and understanding. Her proto-temple is a mixture of both real-time and online, and it's a great job for the different modalities. They have members outside of Venezuela and in various parts of the country, both dedicants and members. The challenge is not to stop before any limitation, and that's why the online presence in real time. She says that a successful deeming is a great joy and a great commitment. The intention is to continue growing. The plans are between making a presence on the web with a page available to everyone in the Hispanic community where they can share articles of interest to various types of Wiccan and pagan public with spiritual themes of interest where their members participate as authors who have stood out for a great capacity for analysis and writing. She personally, as head of this future temple, the organization of a festival type event where they could frequently, annually, such as a retreat or a spiritual meeting where for a week they can gather for enjoyment and growth. She will organize the development of the temple membership certifications, and Fortunately, she has many things and projects in mind to develop. In the next 10 years, she hopes to be working based on training, events, writings, books, and articles. And of course, this along with personal training as a high priestess, and continue to grow within the Correllian tradition as an active member of the community and the great family that we are. In Venezuela, they have many limitations that keeping a spiritual group active, it's a great task. However, with perseverance, goodwill, and commitment, they have achieved it. Their situation is difficult, but the gods are with them, and the gods understand their devotion and their desire to grow. She says that she considers many within the tradition have put themselves to support them in the development of their temple. She says that Lord Don and Lady Stephanie, who have not hesitated to take into account when we have requested their support, to our great friend and ally, Lady Era, and our brother and teacher, Lord Ablis, who have never had doubts or questions, and the whole network of Correllians in the different groups and in the different areas that have always been a positive response, as well as a great friend, and who has always been supporting their cause, such as Reverend Silas, a beautiful person. Within Tierra de Gracia, their brothers Reverend Orlando, Reverend Armando, Reverend Juan Arturo, have always been giving support in some way, and thank you all, really. She was asked what she thinks is needed most by the Correllian tradition in the future. She says that a work is already being done, having the material that exists available for the Hispanic community. And thank you, because it has been an excellent job, and what has been achieved is very important. Ideal, that is, all the materials are reached. And for example, the videos of some members and the chancellor, which may have subtitles so that the Hispanic community can be nurtured with the information. They are growing, and thanks for this. Thank you so much, Reverend Hasoli. We appreciate you. Lord Don and Lady Stephanie, do you have any questions?
Sir Ira has already said in the chat room what I was going to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. And that is that I know that Tierra de Gracia has faced a number of hurdles because of their location and the circumstances in that part of the world, and yet they have moved forward beautifully and are one of our most active and rapidly growing groups in the tradition. So I want to say that the beloved Principe Feroyon de Fira did a wonderful job in building a strong base for Tierra de Gracia, and that Reverend Hasoli is doing a beautiful job moving forward with it, and that we are most impressed.
Thank you.
Yes, I still think to this day, Principal Parathera, what a man. Oh my gosh, you could always hear his heart whenever we would have conversations. And then even with Lady Ira, I'm sure that everyone is blessed by her, just not the Spanish-speaking community. And with Hazel, here you're complimenting us related to as our tradition materials grow each year, and yet knowing that you are in fact an author yourself, writing articles and then soon books, know that you are always welcome to add to this great work of the Correllian tradition, to add your approach and thoughts. So I'm going to thank you ahead of time for all the great things you're going to give to the tradition.
Thank you, lady.
Gracias. Thank you. Next, I would like Reverend Jared to speak with us about his proposed temple, Celtic Crowe Temple.
What to say? We are mainly online right now. We're mainly on Facebook. I have about 38 members last I looked. Some of them are actually family that I didn't expect to show up in it, to be completely honest. My goal is basically to help spread the Correllian tradition to those that don't understand or don't know about it, and support the with the support of the teachings and all that. I have a member from Australia. She's amazing, and I learned from her as much as she learns from me, I'm thinking. Um, I'm a little touchy, I guess.
Can you tell us where you're located?
I'm in Dallas, Georgia.
Okay.
Like I said, we're mainly online, though. I do plan in the future, way in the future, to maybe make it a brick and mortar as well. But that's definitely in the future with being on disability and everything else. Money is difficult.
Can you give us some details about what you and your members have done this past year?
With the pandemic, we've gained some members. We've talked a little bit in Discord. Not a lot of members show up, but they don't participate much, is what I'm seeing here recently. But surprisingly, my sister has joined us, which is a real surprise. And we do plan to do more discussions on Zoom, and also more Sabbats. I've done one Sabbat ritual outside of SL. I've been working, like Joanne said, I've been working real hard with her as well with the Wild Moon Temple.
Okay. What do you feel has been your greatest challenge that you have faced since becoming a Correllian proto-temple?
The biggest challenge is getting the word out there to members, to market ourselves, basically. That's been my biggest challenge. I'm not a marketing specialist. I'm not. I'm far from it, but I do my best. And working with Joanne with the Wild Moon Temple as well has helped me in regards to trying to market my temple as well. So.
Okay. What do you feel has been your greatest challenge that you faced since being a pagan?
I was born pagan. But I was also military. And during the time I was military, it wasn't recognized. I had been chaptered out of the military at one point because I came out as being pagan. So I've dealt with discrimination on many different levels, and all of that. Yeah.
Okay. What kind of projects do you hope to work on in the next 10 years?
Definitely more Sabbath rituals, more discussions, maybe some Esbit ceremonies as well. I'm not real big on the Esbit ceremonies. But definitely also start teaching. Now that I devoted most of my time as a Witten shrine and also as a proto temple into learning more, and just recently getting my 3rd degree. I feel I'm at that point where I can start teaching more of the Correllian tradition, the lessons and all of that.
Okay. Who would you say has been the greatest help to you during your time in the tradition?
Lady Steph, definitely, hands down.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about your group?
We're small right now, 36. give or take, still small in my eyes. But we care about each other. I try and keep in contact with our members, at least try and send them a message every once a week or something like that to make sure that they're doing okay and everything is going okay.
Okay, very much. Thank you so much. Lord Don and Lady Stephanie, do you have any questions or comments for Reverend Jared?
I guess I would say, knowing Lord Jared for so many years, he's a quiet wisdom that if you have a moment in time to spend just 5 minutes with him, you will leave feeling fulfilled and nourished. A very sweet presence about him. And I've always admired you for that, Lord Jared.
Thank you, Lady Steph.
Oh, you're welcome.
Very good.
Okay. Next, I would like Reverend Kyle from Four Pillars Proto Temple to speak with us.
Hello.
Hello. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Okay. Can you tell us where you're located, and can you tell us about your proto temple?
Yeah. So we are currently located in Youngstown, Ohio, just outside of Youngstown, Ohio. And we currently have 7 in-person members. Our organization is was predominantly in person, unfortunately, until the pandemic happened, and then we had to kind of move more so online. Sort of the main goals of our temple, proto temple, were from the start, working to sort of create and engender a devotional practice. And so, we work to engender this devotional practice. As part of my work as a proto temple, I created what is called the Four Pillars Devotion Ritual, which is a monthly ritual that I perform on behalf of members of the temple. And it's sort of meant to be not only a devotion ritual, but also intended to sort of create a deep relationship with our surroundings, with nature, with the spirits and the guardians of the directions that we work with. We also really try to engender the idea of the arts in our practices as well. Arts of theater and dance and music, things of that nature. Just this past year, I attempted to pick up playing the violin, so that's kind of something I'm working on as well. In my personal life. We also developed something called the 4 principles. The 4 principles are for our temple. It's something that we've kind of adopted as a way to kind of keep our members in touch with one another and in touch with the goals and the mission of our temple. And so those are study, worship, service, and environment or ecological sustainability. So these are ways that we can sort of give back to the earth. We've chosen Gaia as our patron as a consensus with our temple members. And so we really try to encourage our members to work and live their lives sustainably.
Okay. Can you give us specific details on what you and your members have done in the last year?
Yeah. So as you know, this past year has been really challenging for many of us. It has been a year where we have had to separate and to spend a lot of time apart. This has been a difficult time of year for the Proto Temple in that respect. Even still, we have been committed to completing our first of the month ritual, where we work to cultivate devotion for the gods as well as generate those blessings. And the blessings upon each of members and all people in the 4 directions. In addition to that, I've worked to maintain practicing and observing the Sabbats at times I have, at times I have elected to do live videos, and at other times private Zoom rituals, only as best as we can to really try to keep things going and keep things up, although we have to be separate. I do have a personal blog, the Four Pillars Proto Temple blog that I run, and I post blog posts and articles on there periodically. I also have a YouTube channel for the temple that we maintain, and I post videos on there as well of various topics that come up. And we also have a Facebook page that is sort of the main way that we get in touch and stay in touch with one another. So those are some of the main things that I do, is at this time trying to keep more of an online presence with those areas as a way to sort of supplement and make up for the unfortunately the loss of meeting in person.
Okay. How many members did you say that you have in your temple?
So currently we have 7 active in-person members. We also have 35 subscribers to our YouTube channel. We have 4 subscribers to our blog. And as of this moment, we have about 300, I believe it was 350 members on our Facebook page. So although we don't, 350 members and 390 followers on the Facebook page. So although we don't have that many members in person, I really do believe that the teachings of our temple, Proto Temple, extend, pretty far out to other members in the community and in cyberspace.
Okay. What do you feel has been your greatest challenge that you've faced since becoming a Correllian Proto Temple?
So I mentioned this before in previous applications as well, and this has kind of been a challenge that's been ongoing. Is originally when I created the Proto Temple, I had different sort of things in mind how I wanted things to be, and shortly after becoming a Proto Temple, we had a lot of our members begin families, and so I had to kind of be open and being able to sort of change the trajectory of the Proto Temple to be able to include families, or be able to work and find ways to incorporate families, or in some ways maybe at times restrict family involvement for special events. And so kind of working to navigate that has been a challenge for me in maintaining certain involvement in the temple, but also giving everyone the opportunity to participate in ways that is beneficial and fulfilling for them personally.
Okay. What do you feel has been the greatest challenge that you personally have faced as a pagan?
I think one of the major things that I've noticed over the years is sort of this idea of credibility, and in finding ways to create credibility in our faith and put us sort of as peers of other mainstream religions. Ours is an organic faith that has developed over many thousands of years, and yet we stand to constantly have to justify our beliefs. We may not have as many adherents as other faiths, we may not have as many beliefs as other faiths, because we are not exactly like other faiths. We are unique in our own way, and that has led to some specific issues. The greatest of these is the loss of credibility by the wider community, because we're not as similar to them as they would maybe like us to be. Now in 2020, we see that paganism, Wicca, and the New Age movement have taken on more of a mainstream interest. So more people are interested than ever before, and we have far more like-minded people now in our organizations. I partially adjusted to the situation by working to grow my personal ministry, working to show others that I am knowledgeable and someone that others can depend on and receive knowledge from. In some ways, because of that desire, I obtained a Bachelor of Arts degree in Religious Studies to give myself a little bit more credibility and give me the opportunity to show that our tradition and our faith as Wiccans and Pagans is something that is legitimate and can be a good force in the world.
Okay. What would you say that being a pagan how has it most benefited you in your life?
I would have to agree with some of the other applicants that it really has to do with personal growth. There's many, many ways that it's affected my personal life, but I would say that most of it has been in the terms of personal growth. and many individuals are just now beginning to notice the benefits of mindful and spiritually fulfilled lives. And so for me, I feel in some ways I'm kind of ahead of the curve in that, because I've been attempting to practice a mindful and spiritually fulfilling life. I found my calling, giving my life meaning, and also providing myself with a deeper understanding and connection with my place in the universe through the many years of practice and service in the tradition and in the wider community.
Would you say that your proto-temple is primarily a real-time or online group, or a mixture?
At this point, it's kind of a mixture because of the pandemic. We're primarily an in-person group. We would attempt to meet, at least for every Sabbat, once a month, maybe once every 6 weeks for every Sabbat. Sometimes in between, we would meet for workshops. We would meet for lectures, or sometimes craft activities, and even just social events. We've gone out and done plant identification and trying to be involved, in the local community by really exploring our local communities. But this past year, the pandemic has really put a halt on all of that, unfortunately. And so now we've moved more online, and I've worked to create more programming for members online and other interested people that may not be members, as a way to sort of fill the void for me personally, and ensure that I can still provide for the community in some way.
What projects do you have planned for the coming year and the next 10 years?
One major project that I finally built up the gall to do was host a public event. This was mostly planned out until the coronavirus pandemic hit and prevented the further gatherings. I had planned to host a more or less specific public event and give some of our distance members the opportunity to meet one another, as well as the chance to grow the wider community. And have more of a presence in our wider community. I've put that off for a lot of years, being public, because for a lot of reasons. Some of our members are more private, and so because they are more private, it's been difficult for some of them to want to be public. Other times it's been a matter of getting the funds to do that. Since we've moved into a new county, we actually get a really great discount with one of our local metro parks, and we actually have the opportunity to rent a very decent space there for not much cost. And so that was kind of a plan that I had, and I hope to fulfill that plan coming in the next coming years when the pandemic abates.
Okay. What special challenges, if any, do you face in your area that you feel might be different from shrines, proto-temples, or temples elsewhere?
This is a really great question. I'm glad that it was asked. I believe there are some unique challenges that I have mentioned before, that our area is relatively impoverished. In Youngstown, the city center is about 15 minutes from the temple where I live, and has been on several lists, national lists of most impoverished cities with a poverty rate of 38%, and listed among some of the worst cities to live in the United States. This area was a booming industrial steel center that has gained the name as the Rust Belt, because it's lost a lot of the industry and a lot of the steel mills. And so because of that, our area is generally of lower income, and it can appear depressive at times. I've heard from other pagans and Wiccans in our area that have attempted to do things in our community with little support, because people are reluctant to financially support these kind of endeavors. It is also difficult to find serious practitioners who are willing to work in groups, and most practitioners who are serious have chosen to work as solitaries, as they have worked out that way for most of their lives, and so they really don't want to now work in a group. So this area is generally sort of, in my opinion, it's sort of a spiritual desert. There really aren't a lot of options for spirituality and practices in this area. With my involvement in the mental health field and the substance abuse field now, I'm starting to notice that there's actually more growth in that area than I realized. There are a lot of clients that I know that are interested in metaphysics and interested in the New Age movement, and really want to augment their lives in that way. So I think it is there, it is here. It's just not as prevalent as I think it could be.
Okay. Who has been the greatest help to you during your time in the tradition?
I've been asked this question many times on various applications that I've had to fill out over the years. You know, and I've met many, many wonderful people in the tradition over the years, and so many people have been so helpful. My first and second degrees mentors did a lot to help. However, they haven't really stayed in touch and have been of little help to me sort of outside of their roles as my mentor, just through the process of the program. However, my third degree mentor, Lady Angela Munn, has been a tremendous help to me more than anyone in guiding me, giving me advice and inspiration, and encouraging me to do a lot of things in this tradition, and which has really led to unprecedented growth, not just with me personally, but also with our shrine. And also, you know, she provided the encouragement and the patience to be able to allow me to achieve what I needed and wanted to achieve. And of course, I certainly wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't from the correspondences and the help from Lady Wendy. You know, if it wasn't for her and all the emailing back and forth that we did and all the help she provided for me over the years, I certainly wouldn't have been able to get the degrees and the applications and going through the process without her help and her guidance in that. And I also like to mention Lady Alyssa Kemp, because she's always been so supportive and so interesting with the work that she provides with the crafts and the heraldic things that she's provided to the tradition. It's been a really big inspiration to me, and how I've come to become more involved in the tradition and, you know, the Order of Artificers and things of that nature as well.
Thank you for your very kind words. What do you think is most needed by the Correllian in the future?
So I've been asked this question again, you know, when I've done applications. And so I think in some ways my answer to this has changed since before. So after several years, I have considered my original response to the question. Originally, I had said that what I believed the tradition needed was more temperance. For a time, we had begun to grow too fast. We had seen a lot of groups sort of crop up, and then they become inactive, and then they kind of close, and it kind of, you know, there was this growth, expansion, and then collapse that seemed to happen there for several years. In recent years, I do not see this as much of a problem anymore, and I believe we have done well to curb that type of behavior and that type of experience. What I think we need at this time is more than ever are serious, dedicated, and loyal individuals who are committed to living their truths and honoring the divine in their daily lives. We need more individuals who are not just trying to show off or gain some clout by skating through a few years of work. We need individuals who are serious and willing to dedicate their lives in their wholeness to the tradition and to their faith.
Very good. Thank you so much. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
At this point, I don't.
Okay, thank you so much. Lord Don and Lady Stephanie, do you have comments or questions?
I do not have anything to add, but to wish you well in your travels and as you continue building up your group and your knowledge. So many blessings to you.
Thank you, Lady Stephanie.
And I would just like to say that I've enjoyed watching you grow, and for want of a better way to put it, blossom in your role. And I think that you have done a wonderful job with that. And I was particularly struck by that at the regional lustration in Buffalo, and on many other occasions, but that particularly, it was very illustrative of how wonderfully you have matured into the role of High Priest.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to speak with Reverend Stacy for her proposed temple, Our Lady of the Healing Fields.
Greetings.
Hello, how are you today?
Hi, very good.
Can you tell us where you're located, and can you tell us about your group?
We are located in Lincoln Park, Michigan right now, but we are moving to a more online platform. We've started including members from Romania and India, so we are trying to be more international now.
Can you give us specific details about what you and your members have done in the past year?
In the past year, we have grown a bit. We have began with adding the Crystal Cavaliers. We have done more meeting in person along with adding the online formats. We're trying to bring it back together since the pandemic is actually ending around here. So hopefully we'll be able to do that also.
Okay. And I see in your application that you participated with local food banks in your area. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, so we teamed up with Pagans in Need. When we meet together for Sabbats and things in person, we have people bring food that we then donate after the ritual. We also collect coats. We collect things that are needed for our local shelters for abused women and families. So we're trying to grow more with the community. We've also added a small group of members from the Witches of Michigan up here. So we're trying to coincide with a lot of their events lately.
Okay. How often does your temple meet and how many members do you have?
Right now we are meeting monthly. We're going to try and start bi-weekly hopefully soon. And we, at the time of the application, we had 22, but we have grown since to 35 members.
Excellent, excellent. What has been your greatest challenge that you faced since becoming a Correllian proto-temple?
The greatest challenge up until I say the pandemic hit was just trying to find members. We're very spread out around here. There's pretty much a Catholic church on every corner, so it was really hard to reach out to pagans. But with the pandemic, I found more people going online, which was a blessing because you're actually able to see each other face to face more, even though you're not, getting together in person. So it helped reach out a lot more. I saw so many pagan groups popping up in Michigan and people asking about joining groups just so they weren't so solitary. And it really helped with our growth.
Very good. What do you feel has been your greatest challenge that you have personally faced since becoming a pagan?
My greatest challenge, so it's just getting everyone together. The lockdown conditions in Michigan were extremely tough on us. Sure you guys have all heard about Michigan's wonderful governor and just locking everything down. So many businesses were closing. So just trying to get a schedule where everyone can meet. And then we were facing the international timelines to cross and trying to schedule.
Okay. In what way do you feel that being a pagan has most benefited you in your life?
Being a pagan has been the most amazing thing in my life, especially being a Correllian. I've had so many different people that have pushed me into things. The goddess decided last year to dump a lot of different things on my plate, and I managed to keep them all going and just work from sun up to sundown and then sometimes into the twilight hours.
Okay. What projects do you have planned for the coming year and the coming 10 years?
Our special project for the next year will be Grow More, especially the Crystal Cavaliers section. Our proto-temple believes in more family unities and growing with the children as we believe that they're going to carry our tradition further. It's what we will leave behind as our children, and them experiencing growth as they grow is very important to us. We're also going to start a public annual event. I've reached out to a local place that actually has land to start having some get-togethers and camping festivities. We're also planning to create a website, looking at ways to gain financial means to grow and hopefully get a more public facility. And then we're also writing up plans right now to get our own 501c3.
Okay. you mentioned the Crystal Cavaliers. I know that you and Reverend Melinda are working with the Crystal Cavaliers. Can you just briefly explain to people who may not know what that group is?
So the Crystal Cavaliers is a type of pagan scouting. I really personally like it a lot because rather than dividing the genders and having them, I have two children that do not identify with genders at all. So it is perfect for them. It brings them together. It helps teach them things with rituals, do crafts, and actually be in the same room with other children that shared their beliefs rather than having to hide them away like when they're at school. They can't say, you know, right out, I'm pagan. And this actually builds more friendships, and just the growth with joining in the group is just tremendous with these children.
Do you feel like you face special challenges that other proto-temples or temples in other areas may not face?
Well, up until the pandemic, again, we had the challenge of reaching out and finding people, and just it seems closed-minded up here until different groups started popping up. I've had so many people that now hear about us, reach out to us, and they might only be a mile or two away, and they never even knew that we were here. So it's just trying to get us out there more. During the wonderful December, we had this whole ritual and things planned where we would get together with the different church leaders. We were getting together with the community. It got shut down. So instead, we decided to build a sleigh decorated with Christmas lights and went through the town, pulled by a truck, and just passed out our information to anyone that came up to us. We handed out candy canes to kids. So we kind of helped get ourselves out there a little more.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Who has been the greatest help to you during your time in the tradition?
First and foremost, my wonderful, wonderful mentor, Lady Angela. She's been my greatest champion along this path. She's been there for all the questions and my push whenever I needed it. She's been in my corner. She's been my cheerleader at every success and obstacle I've had to overcome. Reverend Ebony, Reverend Melinda, and Lady Pam have been there to help me with my endeavors. Lady Ebony actually, or Reverend Ebony, excuse me, actually became our co-head just recently. So to take a little bit of pressure off of me. Lord Don and Lord Ed have been there to guide my ideas, the actual planning, and encouraged me along the way, answered any questions. I know I can text Lord Don in the middle of the night and he answers me almost immediately. And the list goes on and on every day. I'm so thankful for the Correllian family.
Thank you so much for those kind words. What do you think is needed most by the Correllian tradition in the future?
So a few months ago, I set a main site for members to find other members. I've seen this come together more and more. The census is updating things. The Correllian Times is providing voices internationally. Zoom is bringing us together as a family, and we are seeing the Times of Change grow as more and more each month. In the future, we need to stay on course, growing and reaching, providing understanding of everyone's unique talents, listening to their individual voices. This has been a wonderful journey, and we never forget our roots as we continue to grow, which is fantastic.
Thank you so much. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Just thank you all for everything that you have done. You guys have been my guiding force, my guiding light. I did take some time off from the tradition just for personal matters, and you guys welcome me back with open arms.
Thank you so much. Lord Don and Lady Stephanie, do you have any questions or comments for Reverend Stacy?
Well, I was going to make a comment about the Correllian Times. Reverend Stacy is the editor of the Correllian Times and is doing a wonderful job with it. And it is a very large and complex project. And if there were anything to demonstrate organizational skills, that project would be the one. and she has done very nicely with it. But I also wanted to echo something that she said about the children being the future. And I think that is a very important aspect of all of our work, really. But I thought that it was very, very wise of her to focus on that in her discussion of the group.
And I add to that, we have all been impressed with the Correllian Times. We can see it gives a spotlight on just a partial amount of our talent within the tradition. And it's just delightful to read all of your articles. And dealing with the Pagan scouting, the Crystal Cavaliers, that's just an amazing idea and an amazing service to the tradition, focusing in on the children of this tradition. The benefits, just like the Correllian Times, won't be measurable. It's immeasurable for both the Correllian Times and the Crystal Cavaliers. And we so appreciate you and all who's involved with both amazing projects.
Thank you, Lady Stephanie. Okay, now I would like Reverend Shannon to come forward and speak about her proposed temple, Temple Arcer.
Hope you guys can hear me clearly.
Yes. How are you today?
Okay. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Can you tell us where you're located, and can you tell us about your group?
Sure. We're located in Leominster, Massachusetts, and our group is online and local. But mostly we geared towards the online because of the pandemic. So we're slowly coming back locally, which is great. We have a wonderful space down here.
Okay. Okay. Can you tell us how your temple was named?
Yes, I can. So Temple Arcer was named after the Latin verb arciere. It carries the meaning of to ward, to keep close, and to protect. We uphold this definition by making sure our members are a good fit for our family dynamic structure, which means we keep them close, we protect them, and we make sure that they're a cohesive part of the larger community, and also provide a safe space for them to realize their full potential.
What would you say your temple's main purposes and goals are?
So our main purpose is to be one. We practice the Correllian tradition, but it's very eclectic in its own right. So we want to incorporate eclectic views and be inclusive with every path and be as authentic as we possibly can be.
Okay. Can you give us specific details about what you and your members have done in the past year?
So in the past year, our local coven has moved online because of the pandemic. We meet intermittently on Discord and on Teams devotions, well, weekend devotions. we wanted to combine the local and the online for the purpose of keeping everyone as a family unit to get to know each other, even though the distance separates us. So in the last year, when we were incorporating everything online because of the pandemic, we have expanded in so many ways technologically because we're full of techno-pagans over here. So we have done rituals online for Esbets, for Sabbats. We have done dedications and initiations online as well. The pandemic won't stop us. So I'm so glad that we get to now virtually meet when we could do small things physically as well.
What do you think has been the greatest challenge that you have faced since becoming a proto-temple?
Since becoming a proto-temple, the process of getting to know people for the pagan that they are, it was very hard to see people that wanted to be pagan for the self-care and authenticity path of it, or they wanted to be in a group of people where they could, hide or pretend that they were something that they weren't. The biggest challenge was getting other people to realize their full potential in being who they are as a pagan, to come out magically for themselves. And we created that safe space for them.
Very good. What do you think has been your greatest challenge that you personally have faced as being a pagan?
So my challenge was, don't like public speaking. So my greatest challenge for being in our local group was to be me without the anxiety that comes with that, and to be the leader that my temple deserves to have. And this is my place to express how authenticity and spiritual integration is something that needs to happen within the pagan environment. And if I can't embody that by facing my own shadows, my own fears, then what's the purpose? Like, why am I here? I really wanted to grow as a person, as a pagan, and show people that they can embody what it is to be out of the broom closet, as it were.
What projects does your group have for the coming year and the next 10 years?
Okay, so I made a list of projects.
Okay.
So we have, as soon as it's safe to do so, we have a physical space, like a building that we are going to actually gather in. It's so exciting. I'm just so excited. Okay, so our future plans are drum circles, sound baths, pagan craft days, community assistance projects like working with shelters, food pantries, as well as clothing donations, and maybe even community gardening. We want to do Reiki sessions as well as classes, because I am a Reiki master and I would like to teach. We wanted to, since I'm a third degree, and if we become full temple status, I would be allowed to teach and pass the Correllian degrees from my temple as well. And I wanted to do that and add eclectic pagan classes to the mix on that. We wanted to do spiral scouts, and we wanted to offer rites of passage, hand fastings, funerals, coming of age, things like that. We also wanted to do red tents, green tents, rainbow tents, all the tents you think you're coming to a circus. we also wanted to create fellowship with other traditions in the area and get the diversity in there. And also, if we can get people together long enough, some pagan book clubs. I've been trying to get that together for years.
Okay. Do you feel like you experience special challenges in your area that other temples and other areas of the world do not face?
I'm starting to realize that maybe we are just as dangerous here as other places might be, because we have gangs here, and the dangerous things that come with communities and things like that, drugs and all that stuff. So it's very hard. We also have evangelical people around here, protests and picketing and things like that. So it's very hard to be open and authentic in public without the danger aspect of it.
Okay. Who has been the greatest help to you during your time in the tradition?
Okay, I have a list. There are several people that have been invaluable to me during my time in the tradition, all of them in different ways. Our beloved Lady Windy, she was my third degree mentor, and now a beloved ancestor. Sorry. She made me promise to meet her at the last lustration that was supposed to happen in New Orleans as a third degree. And I tried my best to keep that promise, even when the meeting was not meant to be in person. Apologies.
Okay.
Stephanie, the founding partner of our Temple Arcier, she was the one I shared the vision of the temple with, the one who I've considered a sister for so long, even though we've never officially met. She's always been my inspiration and the person I turned to when I didn't have a solution. I knew she would. Aisha, my best friend, my pagan blessee, the yin to my yang. She's been my partner in everything temple related since 2013. Lord Don, my Imperium, since the beginning. He believed in my vision for a Witten Shrine, even despite me being a first degree at the time. My temple members, local and online. Without them, I would not be here doing this, Deeming. Without them, I would have no purpose, no direction, no compass for improvement in community relations, no family reason. These people have taught me so much, and for all of them, I am grateful.
Very good. Do you have any other comments that you'd like to make about your group?
No, not at this time. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Lord Don and Lady Stephanie, do you have any comments or questions?
Well, I couldn't help but chuckle at the comment about all of the tents on the pagan circus. Because Temple of Arcier has a sense of joy about it. And I thought that was particularly appropriate. And I want to say that Temple of Arciera does a wonderful job with its video offerings, with its social media, with its presentation, with the way they do ritual, with their costuming. I will say that Lady Aisha as Father Winter was particularly memorable, but they're all memorable, and it's beautiful and artistic and joyful, and I think they do a wonderful job.
Thank you.
And Jen, you forgot me. But anyway, I digress. I'm just kidding.
Let me just add that in a sec. Hold on.
Okay. I'm waiting.
Lady Stephanie for teaching me the ways of the sea priestess, who also taught Aisha, and I'm her student. Thank you for all your books that you've written that I have every copy of. I'm going to keep going. You tempted me.
I was kidding. I was kidding.
I love you.
Oh, I love you too. Okay, so the thing that it always amazes me about you is your great understanding and how you exhibit the precept of being truly authentic to yourself. And because you understand that and show that, you convey a much deeper teaching related to that concept, because in the end, everything relates to authenticity. So there's that. And talking about Lady Wendy, you could see how amazing she is by just looking at her work and the students she brought through. Look at her students. So I love you, Jen. You take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you too.
Okay, Lord Don or Lady Stephanie, do you have any final comments? I think we've gone through all 11 of our groups today.
As always, you do a phenomenal job. You are so appreciated.
Thank you.
And this part of being a Grand Deemster, it's just not about this. It's the preparation that you have to do to prepare for this. So this isn't all what Lady Angela has to put together for this wonderful meeting. And I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I, of course, also appreciate you and all the work that you do.
Thank you, sir.
Particularly when we have this many temples coming at once. And again, I think it's wonderful to see our deeming ceremony growing and getting bigger, and more groups maturing within our tradition.
Yes.
And I want to say that I am so grateful that we have such wonderful members. I feel like we have attracted exactly the people that we would want to attract.
Yes.
And I'm grateful for you, Lady Angela, Sir Angela, for this and many other things that you do in the tradition.
Yes.
But since we're at the deeming ceremony, especially for your work as Grand Deemstress.
Thank you, sir.
You're most welcome.
Okay. Well, tomorrow in the lustration ritual during the announcement portion, the final deeming results will be announced. Today, together, we have heard the intentions of these Witton shrines and proto-temples, all witnesses to their process and this tradition's growth. Thank you, everyone, for being present today and taking part in this temple-making process. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you.